What's up, everyone? Welcome to The Balance Show. We believe that the key to life is balance.
Finding the balance between discipline and freedom, ambition and contentment. The perfect balance is unique to each individual.
We are your hosts, Taylor, Chloe, and Steve, and we're here to help you find your balance.
What's up, guys? Welcome to our very first YouTube podcast.
We are so excited. I personally...
What's up, guys? Welcome to our very first YouTube podcast.
We are so excited. I personally love to watch my podcasts on YouTube because I like to see people's facial expressions and all that. So we are so excited.
Usually we have Steve in here with us, but today it's just me and Chloe talking about self-confidence. We dive deep into the very first time that we felt a lack of self-confidence, as well, feeling like an outsider.
So kind of that transition into being confident, knowing yourself, and then some real actionable steps to take to get there. So we're super excited. This is episode 5.
Welcome to The Balance Show. So what we first wanted to talk about is the very first moment that we can remember where we felt self-conscious or a lack of confidence. So for me, I first remember my very first time where I felt not confident in myself was in 5th grade. It's actually very vivid. I feel like as kids, we are kind of fearless and we don't really know how to not have self-confidence until something in our lives come up, and that at that moment, that's where we kind of gain that lack of self-confidence, and it just goes downhill from there. So the first time that I remember feeling self-conscious or any of that, we had a play in 5th grade, and we each got our own part. I had like this, it was a Christmas play, so I had, what was it, like a sugar plum part, and you had to really get into your character.
What is that character?
Sugar plum. Yes, it literally, I had like a little teepee head or candy head, and like I had like candy as like a costume. And I took the script home and I poured my heart into it and I practiced it in front of my mom, and then I got to school and we did our like rough draft play out, whatever you call it.
Like what is it called?
A run through. And I got up there and I talked my heart out without the script, and I put the voice in it. Like I went like really high pitched with it, and I thought that I freaking crushed it. And then we get back to the room, we do our actual play that night, and then the next day we were giving awards and actually won an award for doing that. And then I remember all the girls in the class laughed at me.
They laughed at you.
Yes.
Because you were so into it.
Because I was because I felt them laughing in the audience.
Yeah.
But I didn't really know for sure. But then when I got the award, they made fun of me.
And that was the first moment that you can remember where you're like, wait a minute, I'm not as good as I thought I was.
Yeah. That was it. Right. And the only person that did believe me was Andrew Gordon. He was like, Taylor deserves an award. So Andrew Gordon, if you're listening to this, shout out to you. A great man asked me out that year too. So I said I had a boyfriend, but so that was that kind of first moment where I felt super like I started to doubt myself, and that year was actually a really hard year for me, and from then on I really lost confidence in myself. Of course, when you're that age, I feel like that's just how it goes.
Yeah, I think literally everyone, especially I think women, have a story like that where they can remember the first time that someone said something negative to them, and they can remember that phrase to this day.
Yeah, totally. Do you have anything that you can remember?
Yeah, when you asked me and I was thinking about it, it's not as young. Like I remember like being made fun of when I was younger, like 2nd grade, when we moved schools, and I would be like wearing an outfit that was like perfectly matching that my mom got me, and like
Children's Place.
Yes,
me too. I got made fun of for that.
Got made fun of, but that was kind of, but it was just like the boys were just like silly, I think, at that age. But for me, like the first time going into my adolescence was 7th grade. I was at some like bonfire party in the summer was wearing jean shorts for the first time. I got the confidence, was wearing jean shorts to go to this bonfire thing, and this guy's like, what is that on your legs? Like, what is that? And I was like developing, I'm in 7th grade. I'm like 12.
Right.
And like developing really early. And my thighs and my hips are just getting huge and like everything else. And I had these like deep red stretch marks on my thighs and cellulite on my inner thighs. And he's like, what is that? And like brings everyone over and they're like, what is wrong with you? Like I always remember that moment.
Wow, that's crazy.
Right?
And that has to do with body image too, so that's a big
a
big deal. And I feel like guys are so unaware of that as younger boys.
Yeah.
But obviously they start to learn as they grow older, but they don't know.
They don't know that will literally stick with you for the rest of your life.
That's probably more of a common story.
Yeah.
Than
totally.
anything.
And it's probably the story that it sparks so many people, whether it's like an eating disorder or body dysmorphia, whatever it is. It's like when someone external says something to you and then you say it to yourself every single day.
You're like, oh, wait, yeah, that isn't perfect. Or I do hate that about
ugly.
myself. Yeah.
And you know why I think people, like especially young boys, speak that way to young girls is because the only thing that they've ever seen in the media is perfection.
Right.
It's airbrushed. It's tons of plastic surgery and it's movie stars and cover models.
That's why I think like nowadays it's so good. I feel like social media is going in such a real and raw way that there's so many great influences out there, but also the opposite. Like it could be even more worse now than it was back then because you're just pushed with a highlight reel all the time, constantly.
That's why I think it's important to control what you're taking in. So like the people that you follow that make you feel bad versus the people you follow that make you feel good about yourself, you have to pay attention to that. And I think that as we like grow as a society to be using social media more and more and also younger and younger, we have to educate people on that fact. Like, hey, you need to be conscious of who you're following and what kind of impact they make on you.
Right, exactly. Because it's all like what you see on a daily basis. Even though you don't think that they're influencing you, they really are. Like everyone around you plus everything you see online dictates what you do, like even just on a subconscious level.
Yeah, totally. So I feel like that was really my first moment. And from then on, no matter how many compliments you get, those little things that just dig into you, they just stick with you like a thorn. And you can't get rid of it.
Totally, because at that age, all you care about is acceptance from your friends and the people around you. Like that is your number one priority.
Yes, and your self-worth comes from all the people around you, whether it's your boyfriend, your girlfriend, or your best friends.
Right.
What they think of you trumps everything. I think even a lot of teens would agree that you almost even forget about your family because you're so focused on just your peers, right?
The people you're with every day. Like mom and dad don't matter. Like they don't know what's going on.
It's not till you get older that you realize like your family is like your core. If you're fortunate enough to have a family that's close together.
Exactly.
Your family is your core and they're the most consistent thing that you'll have. No matter what happens, especially your parents would die for you. You know what I mean? Right. In most cases, if you're lucky, your parents, like, you are their world. So it's just like, it's kind of sad how you drift away when you're young, but it is cool when you come back as you get older and more mature and you realize how much that they sacrificed for you and loved you.
Right. But I think like that shift from gaining self-confidence and like realizing your self-worth without caring about what others think of you, not even your friends or your peers, comes with experience, comes with time, comes with age. So I feel like that comes at a different time for everyone. Like I think that moving around and losing friends and gaining friends and losing friends that really helped us realize our own self-worth before putting it into everyone else's opinions of us. But if you haven't really gone through a ton of different life experiences, like how are you supposed to care about what you only think about yourself and like not what everyone else approves of you? Yeah. So for me, it didn't, self-confidence and like self-approvance, I guess you can say, approval, didn't come for me until like after college, until I started my career and realized my self-worth.
Yeah, when you can kind of like forge your own path and be like, I don't have to be doing what anyone else is doing. I don't have to look like anyone else. You know, I think what's really cool is like, I think as a society and like our younger generation is kind of starting this dialogue that's like, everybody is so different. How can we have one ideal image of beauty or success or whatever it may be? Like, I think us as a society are kind of growing in that way. Like, we're talking about it all of a sudden, you know?
Right.
I feel like that's been so taboo before.
Right. Like, if like everyone thinks that this is the worst generation and it's the worst time, but honestly, it's also the best time because of all of these advantages that we now have. Like, we have access to everyone, and like you don't feel alone in a situation. So that helps you gain self-confidence. And I don't know. Yeah, I think it's a great time, also a terrible time, but I think just looking at the positives of this generation too.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of good that comes from connecting with people that are different than you. I think it brings a lot of respect. I think, like, as we talk about, you know, those times where we felt like some people were tearing us down, and we've talked about in previous podcasts, is like, while your triumphs are really important in your life, I think that your struggles truly make you who you are. Like, they define you in the best way as long as you take the time to like heal and grow from it. They can define you in a negative way, but if you choose to use it as a tool to grow, they can define you in such a strong way, and it allows you to be more empathetic to people who are like you, who aren't like you, who are going through similar situations.
Right.
And empathy is so important because that's how we connect with one another, when you're able to put yourself in someone else's shoes.
Can you remember like when you started to gain self-confidence? Do you remember that moment or that experience?
Yeah, I definitely always my entire life felt like an outsider. Like, I've always felt like I not only didn't fit into, you know, the people, my peers, but also just like wasn't at home in my body and in my mind. Like, I was like, I have no idea where I'm going with my life. I don't really know who I am. Like, during my adolescent years, I was just like a chameleon, you know, whoever I was around, I just tried to fit in. I think a lot of people are that way. So I just never had really formed my own identity. And I always go back to that, is like, that is really the first step. And that was the first step for me, was really to just take a step back and question, like, who am I at my core? Like, who really am I without anyone else, without a boyfriend, without a best friend by my side? Like, who am I when I'm all alone? And so that was the first step. I can't say that I was confident at that time, because that wouldn't be true. I had just gotten out of a really terrible abusive relationship, and that was kind of the rock bottom for me. That was like, I am empty and like nobody. Like, I'm a shell of a person right now, you know? Right. And this wasn't that long ago. I mean, this was like 2 years ago. Yeah, I mean, like a year and a half, 2 years ago. And it was like from that point forward where, first of all, I said I need to take a step away from defining my self-worth in my partner, because when I moved around, I went to, 5 high schools and moved around a lot. So when I moved around, it was really hard for me to make friends. So I would either find one best friend or one boyfriend and just like only need that person. And so I grew up from my early teens, like being defined by my partner. So I really, for the first time in my life since I was like 12, I said, you know what, I need to detach myself from dating and from looking for myself and other people, and like really just look at myself only. Like figure out who I am, who I want, and also like who I want to be. I literally just decided one day, like, yes, you are, you have your core values and you have your core personality, but you can decide like who you want to be and how you want to impact the world and like touch the people around you. So I just like made that decision to change who I thought I was into who I wanted to be. And even though I knew I wasn't that woman yet, I was taking steps to get there. And so slowly over time, I just like like I said, I started with forming my own identity outside of anyone else, even, my family, my friends, my boyfriend, just forming my own identity. Once I was able to do that, I was really able to just step into who I was. Like, no, I'm never going to look like, this perfect fitness model body style. That's not, first of all, my genetics, but also just like not who I am as a person. I can't even imagine being that way now. But, before, there was so much pressure to look a certain way, like what the ideal of beauty was. So then I was able to just step into, who I am and like own that. Like I'm a curvy, voluptuous queen. Like,
yes, you are a full queen.
Yeah. Like as soon as I was able to just like let go of that standard, and then like slowly I just started really seeing like those societal norms as just like bullshit. Like I don't care about them. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And there's so many just like pressed on us from when we're little girls, like that we need to be a certain way. Mm-hmm. And I've just really like, as time goes on, I just see them all for what they are, and it's just like, it means nothing.
It means nothing. It's all outward appearance.
Yes.
Like this soft-spoken princess type girl.
Yeah. Like smart but not too smart, nice but not too flirty. Like there's so many, like this balance of like what a woman should be and what a woman should look like. And like once you finally are able to like, it's almost like mind control. Like when you can break out of that, you're like, I can be whoever I want to be.
Right.
And I can look however I want to look,
Yeah, and that comes with like not worrying so much about what other people think of you and just caring about what you think of you.
Yeah, being proud of yourself. That's huge.
And loving yourself. Like I know that there's so many things today that say like #love yourself, but it's true. Like it's you really do have to realize your own worth before everyone else and not care about what anyone else thinks of you.
Yeah, exactly. So what do you feel like really was your kind of first stride? So you said after college, I think that you were at a point where you didn't get into the program you wanted, and you were struggling with that because you were like, this was my goal my entire college career, and I didn't even get in. I wasn't good enough to get in. So like you probably were kind of at a low point as well.
Right. I mean, it honestly happened, like, there's different stages. So it honestly happened for the first time when we started moving around and I lost all my friends. We had to move to Arizona and Indiana, and I had to really, when you lose everyone in your life and you lose everything in your life, like your house, your cars, your everything that you have, you really have to evaluate, like, yourself, and it makes you realize that none of that mattered, because you're still the same person as you were before all of that happened. You just have none of those things around you. So it really helps you put everything into reality. So when we lost everything and had to move, I feel like that was the first time that I realized that I can do and be anything I wanted to become. Like before we moved in high school, like when we lived in Windsor, Colorado, I was like a party girl, didn't care about school, did not care about going to college, just wanted to marry rich. And that was
just have an easy life, because that's honestly the ideal that they like push on you. It's like you don't have to be that smart, like you'll just find a man that'll take care of you.
Exactly. Right. So that was like my mindset before we started moving around and lost everything. And then we started moving around, I got a job. I started working really hard in the gym. I started eating healthy. I started making new friends. I started to get outside of my shell and get outside of my comfort zone. So I feel like that was the first moment that I started to gain self-confidence and realize my self-worth was when I could go out and go to a brand new high school and make all new friends. And that was a huge thing for me.
Well, and it's also like a key to that is like you kind of took control of the things that you could control, right? So like there's chaos around you, you're moving, or maybe, I mean, it could be anything. You could have like a death in the family or whatever. When there's chaos around you, it's really good to focus on controlling the things that you can control.
Right.
So, you went to the gym, you pushed yourself outside your comfort zone to make friends and, like, be open even when it was hard to. I think that that's really important.
Right. And that does help boost your self-confidence, because you're like, I can do the hard things that I thought that before I could never do.
Yeah.
So that was my first kind of breakthrough. And then the next one was when I graduated college, and everyone has a plan. And when you're living in the Midwest, everyone is just very, like, they have their set plan and they know exactly what they're going to be doing their whole lives. But Chloe and I were so different. Like, we grew up differently. We weren't from the Midwest. So graduating college, like, luckily my parents were like, you can figure out what you want to do. Like, you can live at home for a year, and that's what I did. So then from there, starting my own career, starting my social media, competing in a bikini competition, which, by the way, is like the hardest thing you'll ever do mentally and physically, that really helped push my self-confidence, boost my self-confidence. And when you go through hard things and you realize that you can accomplish those things, that's what really helps you make a breakthrough. Of course, there's tons of other things that can help that, but for me, that was the first step, was just realizing that I can do the hard things.
Yeah, and you wouldn't know that if you didn't try.
Right, so like stepping outside of your comfort zone and stepping outside the box and not caring about what your peers and your family and others think of you, because they're gonna think it's weird and they're not gonna support it.
Totally. Like, outside of that tiny little comfort zone is where the magic happens.
Right, exactly.
You have to go out there.
Yep, that's how you grow.
Yeah, totally. So we've talked about kind of this journey that everyone goes through, especially in their adolescence, and as they grow into, adulthood. It's this wave and this roller coaster of confidence and self-love. So how do you feel like today? How old are you today? 26. At 26.
Chloe!
No, I wanted you to say it. I know how old you are.
Oh.
So today at 26, how do you feel like you cultivate that confidence and you keep it at its highest levels?
Right. So I was thinking about this question, and I actually wrote out a few things that currently help me and that have helped me in the past. So number one, going to the gym really helps me. I know that everyone thinks it's just a physical thing, but for me, it's a mental thing. Like, when I lift heavy, or if I do a hard ass workout that I thought that before I did the workout I couldn't do, it really helps boost my self-confidence and my self-worth, because I'm like, I can get through this and I can conquer anything. Like, I can do the hard things. So going to the gym helps me mentally, physically, and spiritually. The next thing is just knowing that God made you exactly how he wanted you, and he does not make mistakes. So although you want to pick apart all of your flaws, realize your self-worth, realize all of your positives about you, because that is what you should be focusing on. Like, everyone has their negative things that they have about them, like their character flaws, everything. But if you can see the good in people, your partner, your friends, your peers, the people you work with, that's what's really going to help you gain that self-confidence. The next thing, like we talked about earlier, was do something that scares you, because if you know that when you do conquer those things that you were afraid of, you're like, hey, if I can do that, I can do this. And then you conquer the next thing and you're like, if I can do that, I can do this. So it's just a never-ending cycle of becoming your best self, because you're doing things that scare you and they push you outside of your comfort zone. The next thing that really helps me with self-confidence is realizing that people that love you do not care what you look like, and they're focusing on your positive character traits and just the positive things about you in general. So realizing, like, if you mess up or, always picking yourself apart, realize that the people around you love you for who you are. And the last thing for me is just to have an outlet that helps me express myself. So like with fashion, I do my weekly newsletters, and I really like to talk in those pretty deeply. My YouTube videos, I like to talk in those pretty deeply. So just having a way to express yourself really helps you realize the uniqueness in you. And then when someone else externally too, like, you can help someone in what they're going through, really helps you realize, like, your self-worth, and like you're helping others, and helps you boost your self-confidence. So people are going to judge you no matter what, so just be yourself in life, and that is honestly what will fulfill you the most.
Totally. I couldn't agree more with all those points. I kind of have the same answer to the question. It's a little different. But for me, I think, because we've both struggled on, I think, either ends of the spectrum. So for me, it was feeling like I was always too big, and you had times where you feel like you could just never get small enough. And even when you were at your tiniest, you just would look in the mirror and feel like I need more, I need to be smaller.
Totally.
So even though our struggles are very different, they kind of come back to the same roots. And that's why I think we've kind of both learned the same things, and I think it's true for everyone. So firstly, I want everyone to know, if you are struggling, that you're not alone. There's probably someone else, not just in the world, but next to you, that's struggling with the same thing. Everyone has stretch marks. Everyone has cellulite. Everyone has things about them that they don't like. And you just have to know that, like, you're not the only person. It's like everyone around you is so worried about themselves that they're not looking at you and your flaws. Another thing is that you are so much more than the way that you look. So focus on what's on the inside, and from that you will radiate. If you focus on taking care of yourself, I read a quote that said something like, it's hard not to love something that you're taking such good care of, referring to your body. So it's like, if you do just move and you eat well and you hydrate and you do those things, do it for your health, but just know that a benefit of that is that you're just going to glow. And outside of that, the most beautiful people are both healthy and they're both secure. They know who they are. So a huge thing to me is just knowing yourself and forming your own identity separate from anyone else, and knowing who you are. That leads to confidence, because I know who I am, I know who I want to be and what my intentions are. I think as long as you're kind and you have good intentions to put out into the world, you shouldn't worry about anyone else's opinion. The only opinion that matters is your own. So you're going to be talking to yourself more than anyone else. So you have to make sure that voice is saying positive things, and you're building yourself up, because you could be your own worst enemy if you don't. And yeah, those are kind of like my biggest tips. I think that we've both come a long way. For me, it's been quite the journey, a struggle, but then rapid growth in a short amount of time.
Totally.
I really dug myself out of a really dark place, and those are the things that I've learned from it. I wish I could go back to my younger self and tell her these things. So that's why I think we really, really feel passionate about sharing this with the world, is because someone needs to hear it. And it's not even just the teens, it's people everywhere need to hear these things.
Yeah, and I feel like people go through things to help others that are going through them, and help them not feel like they're alone. So hopefully at least something in this podcast will help you and help you feel like you're not alone, and just help you realize your own self-worth.
Yeah, everyone out there, you're beautiful in your own right, and you have so much power and potential just locked inside you.
Right.
You have to unlock it. And
not be afraid to.
You can't be afraid to. And so like the steps in doing that are really just going to be knowing yourself, understanding yourself, and letting go of what everyone else thinks of you. Those are the biggest things you can do.
That's how we started this whole podcast, was being fearless as a child and becoming fearful of who we are because of external people.
Yeah. It's crazy, but I really think that it happens to everyone.
Yes, absolutely.
Everyone. It's you don't have this negative self-image until someone puts it in your head.
Yep.
And you can never get rid of it until you reach a point where you're so secure that you can say, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what someone else thinks of me. I care what I think of myself. Right. And then my immediate circle, and outside of that, I have good intentions. I'm kind to everyone that I meet, and other than that, you can't care,
right?
Because it will drain you.
It's mostly always a self-deflection too.
Yeah.
It's someone that feels insecure about themselves, that they have to bring others down.
Right. Totally. So yeah, I think that's really our biggest things, and this is a super important topic to us. I know we could talk probably all day about it, but
definitely.
We definitely did want to condense it and just bring out the top things for both of us, and they align almost perfectly.
Yeah,
just
which
in
makes me
different words.
believe, because Chloe and I didn't converse before this really,
Yeah.
so it makes me believe that there's so many other women or just people in general that relate to this. So
Totally.
it's really cool to be able to talk about it.
And like, we all have our own paths and our own stories, our own struggles, but we all can reach that same conclusion, which is just, you know, being proud of yourself. That's huge. Like, being proud of yourself is like, I say this all the time, but it's like a superpower. Like, once you find that, like, being truly proud of yourself and who you are as a person, you can really accomplish anything.
Yes.
Because you're not afraid to, and you're not afraid what people are going to think about you.
Yeah.
You can just go for it.
Right.
Because you're secure. And outside of that, as an added benefit, like I said, I think the most beautiful people in the world are the people who are secure.
And like, that's what makes you happy, is
Yes.
just like feeling content with yourself. And
You can't find happiness anywhere else.
Right.
You have to like find it within.
And
Create it. Like, and it doesn't come from thinking, I want to be happy, I want to be happy. It comes from thinking, I want to know myself and love myself.
Right.
That's where happiness comes from.
Absolutely. Well, that was a great podcast with my sis,
So fun.
Chloe. Blood related, by the way. So whoever thinks that we're not,
We
because we
are.
look different,
So different.
we are blood related.
It's
Same
true.
mom and dad. So anyways, I hope that again helped someone out there. This was an awesome topic to talk about, and if you guys do relate, please just let us know on social media, email us, or even just rate us down below on iTunes. We would just really appreciate it. And yeah,
Thank you guys so much. This is really sorry. This is really where we found our passion, is just helping individuals, you know, step into their power and their light and feel confident about themselves. That's why we started our business, and I think why we have found success with it is that people resonate with that, and people need that. They're hungry for it, you know, so that's really our mission. And so if this helps someone out there, that just literally warms our heart. So
I wish I had people talking to me like this when I was younger,
Yes,
you know, or just
totally.
like anyone like this in my life. So
Yeah.
anyways,
hopefully we are here for the people who need it most
Yes.
right at this moment.
absolutely. So to end this podcast, we plan on coming out with a podcast every Wednesday at 7 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. Of course, when we're launching a new collection for Balance Athletica, things are a bit crazy, but we hope to get back on track and make Wednesdays a normal thing. So be sure to rate, comment below, subscribe, and just know we love you guys, and we just appreciate all your support.
Thank you so much, and thank you for just letting us have this platform to speak to you freely and just speak on whatever is on our hearts that day. It's really an amazing way for us to come together as well. So
Totally.
I had a lot of fun.
Totally, sister.
Okay, well, we will see you guys next week.
We love you. We'll see you then. Bye.
Bye.